Well, here we go.
Good morning, everybody, today. So we were super blessed with rain last night, and the area that we live in, like this, is a massive, massive blessing for us. So we are definitely starting this week off right. So today, unfortunately, I do have one of those topics that we really have to go into. And I know that I'm going to send a couple of you into that really thinking space this morning and really ponder and all the rest of it. But I just want you to hang in there with me, because I know by the end of this, especially once Claire's got hold of you guys, that you are going to be feeling so much better. But these topics we have to face as well. So today, it's all about loneliness. Have you ever felt that intense loneliness? It's almost like you can be surrounded by people and you still feel lonely. You can be on your own and you feel lonely. You can be with friends. It's something that's deep inside of you, and you can't really explain it. And then top of that loneliness comes this whole thing about I'm doing everything by myself. So you could be in a relationship, this could be at work, this could be at home, this could be in a friendship, this could be anywhere, but you are doing everything by yourself. I need to do the washing. I got to cook the food. I've got to get the kids to school. I've got to. And you just overwhelmed, firstly, by loneliness, and secondly, but I do everything on my own anyway. So I'm pretty certain that you guys have experienced this somewhere along your paths and along your lives, and maybe some of you are experiencing it right now. So this is definitely something that I've experienced, and it's definitely something that I'm looking into, and I'm trying every day to just get better at it. And I kind of had this big breakthrough yesterday, hence the fact we're talking about it today. And the first verse that came to my mind was Peter 5, verse 7. It says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. This is the whole thing. And this is sometimes what we miss, is that we are never alone. God is walking the path with us. The good one, the bad one, the everything. I saw the most amazing post last night. It was on a Bible that somebody had written, is that remember that it said Shema. So I must remember that God is with me, not only in the good times, but in the bad as well. And that's exactly it. He is with us all the time. So that intense loneliness, first of all, I want you to go, no, I'm never alone. He is always with me, the good and the bad. The second verse that came to mind was Deuteronomy 31, verse 6. It says, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. He will never leave us or forsake us. And going back to the cast all your anxiety on him, if we have a problem that we are facing that feels too big for us, we are not alone. This was like a light bulb that came off of my head yesterday. I am not alone. I can hand it over to him, whether it's an emotional, a financial, whatever the problem is. It says cast all of your anxieties on him, so I can give it to him. Look, guys, please don't get me wrong. This is not going well. I'm in financial trouble, so I'm just going to cast it on God and sit back and do nothing. Obviously, you have to continue to work, and he's going to provide you with the work. But what it is saying is that if you release that control to him, he will be there and he will send it back to you. So if it is a work situation, release it. Instead of doing the whole thing, I don't have enough, how am I going to pay my bills at the end of the month, etc., etc. I'm going to give this over to God. And he is then going to send me the work, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to pay my bills at the end of the month. The point is that you are not alone. Even when you feel it at those darkest, darkest times, you are actually never, ever alone. And that gave me the most amazing comfort yesterday. And it also gave me a hope. Like today, it's like I've woken up, I'm like, some of my troubles that were there last week are absolutely still this week. It's not like I left them behind, but now it feels like a weight is lifted off of me because I've handed them over to God. They are not in my control. This is the whole thing, is we like to control. We want to be in control. We want to take over control. There's some circumstances that we actually just can't. And those are the ones that we should let go. And when we do that, when we cast it on him, the relief that we feel is amazing. It really is amazing. So I'm going to hand you over to Claire, and she's going to give us some pointers as to when we do feel that extreme loneliness, as to what we can do about it.
This is a big one. And we've been talking a lot about this one actually, and those times of loneliness and how at certain times of your point they've been like so big, and other times, they haven't. I was having this conversation with Carin yesterday. You guys know already, I love my morning walks on the beach, and I call it my conversations with God. Anyway, so there's this little dog, and he's got this little white spot in his eye, little blind little dog. But when he hears me, I'm sure he knows the sound of my engine of my car. He comes running. Now I've been walking this beach for a long time, and then he squeezes through the little hole where the other two dogs can't get out, and then he just walks. He comes running, plays hello, hello, and then he just walks. And he walks with me. And anyway, I'm walking with this little dog, and it comes to me is this message with this dog. It's like, why is this little creature always following me? Like, what is this? And the answer was that, we always have God by our side. Doesn't matter, but we have to call, we have to ask. And this little dog walks with me, and he comes and he strolls off and he smells something, and he comes back when I call him, and he goes and plays with somebody else, and he comes back when I call him. And then I get in my car and I say goodbye and I leave him behind, and then I go home, and tomorrow morning I come back again. And I think often what we miss is that we forget to call, we forget to ask. And I think that is a big one, is just to say, there's times when you are feeling very lonely. Even like you say, everybody's around. I still feel lonely now. Have you asked? I think that's number one, is ask. Because if you are quiet enough to ask and just sit and then ask to feel, you will instantly feel that amazing comfort that comes over you. And I think for many of us, we just hope it's going to be there, but don't take the time out to ask and sit and receive it. We just in the back of our mind just hoping, you know, and that comes with those quiet moments. That comes with the walking in nature moments. This is a big one that Carin and I spoke to yesterday as well, is you will always find balance in nature. If you're out of balance, go into nature. Hence, I walked the beach for the last 3-4 years. Because when you're in nature, think about it. You guys remember about 5 years ago, the big Neisner fires? Now, if you drive past, you would never know. The place looks so amazing. Nature has balanced itself back into harmony again. And that again is for us to just remember that if you're in nature, it's going to balance out the harmony. So, what if you were in nature and then asked? That is a big one. And I want you just to try it today. Go into nature, sit outside, or just go and sit by a window if you can't get outside. It just started raining. Yeah, incredible. We were just talking about that too. So today, no walking on the beach, but I'll be sitting by a window looking at my big mountain and still having the moment. But what if you actually did that, being in nature, being quiet, and ask, and then sit in silence and receive? Those, I think, are the most important things. You also spoke about the control. It's not just going to come to you. You have to also let control. You let go of that control. And I think that's what we do. We like hold on to this thing that I have to, I have to, I have to. But now in that moment of silence and while you're receiving, have you ever listened for the answer? Like, oh, I've got this big thing that I have to do. Instead of just jumping with the first action in your head, ask God, what is the best action? Yeah. What is the best way for me to move forward? Yeah. Because that gives you a whole different answer. And when you then go and do whatever you were supposed to do from that action, that's when lives change. Because we're not just following our head. I don't know if any of this makes sense, but we always, have you noticed the theme is always coming back to silence, being quiet, going into nature, listening to God, feeling, finding the answers. It's that self-reflection, that's sitting, just being quiet. So if you haven't started this journey yet, I would suggest start it today, even if you sit by a window for 2 minutes and just start. And initially it might feel funny if you're not used to it. Just start. But I think for our more experienced listeners would be happy to do this for hours, because we can have those deep inner conversations, those like thoughts, those like, how do I get the best out of this? What can I do now? So I'm not sure if there's a specific something I can give you, but I would say just start there, start small, and then start building off that.
Yeah, I think what's happened, especially for I can relate to this, is that you almost feel like you're in such survival mode. Like you've just got to get the job done. You just have to fix it. You just have to do it. You just. And because of that feeling of survival mode, you haven't allowed yourself the time to actually sit. And this comes back to that self-kindness, like self-love, self-everything, that you got to pull it back into you first before you can go out there. So instead of doing the crisis management that we are all so good at, because we've all done that, and I know quite a few of us on this group, crisis management is our thing, like just deal with the crisis. No, instead we should sit back first and go, what is the best way to deal with the crisis? How should we handle it? And what would God want us to do with it? And then we proceed forward, giving ourselves that 5, 10, 15, maybe an hour is actually okay. It's almost like we need to give ourselves permission for that, because we don't feel that we should, but we actually should. And this is where that self-love comes into it.
If you haven't started a morning routine, I would suggest start with 5 minutes and just be quiet and ask yourself questions. Ask, what am I supposed to do with this? How am I supposed to go from here? And sometimes just sit and listen and be quiet. And sometimes nothing might come in that moment, but a flood might come just now. So just remember, because you're actually allowing yourself to go through this process, it eventually comes. And when it comes, ask Carin, it comes in tsunami waves. It comes lots, which is fun. And then it's deciphering all of that, putting it into practice. So yeah, if you need to make a big decision today, be quiet for a few minutes and just go and ask the questions.
Absolutely. It definitely comes in the tsunami, but I've also learned to realize that I've almost learned to realize that my tsunami is coming, and I can get prepared for that now, so I'm allowed to sit and I'm allowed to have that sadness. Last week was a very sad week for me. Unfortunately, a friend's mom died, a friend's dad died, and one of a very positive influence in the community, she passed away of stage 4 lung cancer, leaving 2 very small children behind. So it was definitely a sad week for me and brought up some sadness of my past and what. But at the same token, that sadness made me be still and made me go, okay, but why? Why do I feel like this? What's happening in my world? What's going on? What can I control? What can I can't? And through that actually did come the tsunami yesterday morning, which I am so thankful for. And, Claire's brilliant. She never calls us a bad day. She always calls it a growth day. And that's exactly what this was. This was a growth weekend. It was also one of those things everyone says, you got to go to church. You got to go to church. Yesterday, I didn't feel like going to church. I really didn't. I felt like that the message was not sitting there for me. So I ended up putting on a really good sermon. And I listened to that and I was like, okay, there's the message I need. And then I was still for over an hour and I went into this deep meditation and I figured all my stuff out to make sure that I was ready for the week ahead, because I don't want to carry that with me. But I needed to first feel it, go through the baggage, go through the heaviness before I can go, right, let's now figure out what this heaviness and baggage is. And now let's fix it so we don't carry it with us for the week. So this being still, it is amazing and highly recommended from my side as well.
And that, I think you touch on one of the most important points is we often just take that feeling, that emotion, and we just push it aside because we don't want to feel into it. But when we allow ourselves to actually feel into it and be still in feeling in it, that is usually when we come that tsunami wave of greatness and answers come. But the problem is we miss it because for years and years we just shove it around and we put a blanket over it. So yeah, and if only you could just for 5 minutes just listen, just be quiet in it. Like you say, then all of a sudden those revelations come. This is what I was supposed to understand from it. But if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have felt it. You wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have sat here today being able to share your message with us this morning. Yeah, so it's an awesome one.
Exactly. A part of the sermon that I listened to yesterday was So your mistakes, like my mistakes, for instance, is somebody else's lesson. And he even took it one step further and goes, "Thank you for being an idiot so we can learn from it." So this is also definitely something that I wanted to share with you guys, is that we all have mistakes, we all have lessons, but as soon as we share it with somebody else, we make sure that they don't make that same mistake. And that is really what the greatness is about this group and about supporting each other and sharing these things. Because at the end of the day, we actually are all human and we all go through this, regardless of if we think we don't or we do. So I just want to say thanks to everybody for sharing. Thank you to some people who've already made the mistake so I don't have to. And I'm very happy to share my mistakes so you guys don't have to.
It's a great one.
Anyway, well, good. Let's begin our weekend prayer. Dear Lord Jesus, thank you for bringing us here together today. Thank you that we are able to share and that you have provided us with a safe space in order in which we can do this. I pray that you go with each and everybody this week, especially those people who are currently sitting with that very heavy feeling of loneliness. Please, God, just help them. Let them be still. Let them figure it out. Let them feel your presence and let them feel your love. I pray for everybody that travels and is going to be on the road. Please be safe, especially in this wet weather. And I would like to also just pray for the farmers who are going to be planting. Let their harvest be blessed with double portions, and let all of those who eat from their harvest be blessed as well. So this I pray in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Uh-huh.